July 27, 2022. This video, I want to get into an issue that's been on for a while, the illegal immigration issue. As we know, we've been taking in about 2 million plus illegal immigrations a year now that Biden's been in power. And so the question I've been raising for a while is, well, where are all these people going? I mean, after all, they've been robbed blind by the cartel on the way in. Um, so even if they had some money before they came, do they have anything now? They have the clothes on their back and probably whatever's in the backpack and maybe a cell phone issued to them by the Biden Homeland Security effort, such as that is. And they're dumped all over the country by various groups. Now, interestingly, right now you've got the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, and also the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, both complaining about these illegal immigrants overcrowding their facilities for dealing with the homeless and so forth. Very interesting here. I mean, they've made a big deal about sanctuary cities and all this for so long, and now they're actually getting it. They're not so happy about it. And so I think this may lead to the question happen to end this problem, or at least bring it to some significant maybe correction down the road, is how do you really manage all this situation? And so, I mean, because obviously the Biden administration is showing no signs so far of backing off on promoting illegal immigration. And in fact, I keep hearing this whole thing about, that they try to claim that what Trump did during a 3-hour period was some major neglect of duty. Well, what Biden has done throughout his entire administration has been a major neglect of duty, and allowing this border control situation has totally spun out to the disaster that is. And so, anyhow, so that's the situation we're faced with here. By the way, if you like these videos, please give me a like. It helps with the algorithm. You can subscribe if you haven't already, and of course, comments are appreciated. Yeah, that's where I'm really getting to. This is sort of a false narrative. For instance, they're blaming the governor of Texas here, which is true that illegal immigrants are being bused to D.C. by the Texas. Okay, so that part is true. However, the mayor of New York is really off base, because the fact of the matter is it's actually the Biden administration's Homeland Security Department that was actually flying people into Chappaqua under cover of the dark, not too long ago. So that's I mean, I'm probably still going on, but I mean, the Fox News people did catch them doing it. So where did they go to? I don't think they stayed in Chappaqua. Let's put it that way. A little too high rent for people that are homeless, basically. And I don't think there's a whole lot of people of their own immigrant status there either. And even the ones that are there probably don't want to take them in. So, so the result is they probably flocked into New York City looking for help, and probably that's why they're overwhelming their facilities. So that's kind of the situation. I think so. What we may be getting to see is the beginning of pushback by local Democrat governments to what's been going on. I mean, we've already seen pushback from Republican governments, but of course the Biden administration doesn't care what they say. But when it starts, their own Democrat mayors and start raising hell about it, this could become a whole new situation. I'm not placing a lot of hope in that, but I do think it's an interesting development because it's going to become an increasing problem. What really does happen with all these people? One would hope that at some point the people from the host countries where these people are coming from will get the message that this is not quite the panacea that's been portrayed as being. It's not like they're going to be up here and be on their path to suburbia and having a nice life here. Most of them are going to be in some pretty bad situations. Now, add to that, there are such people who I'm sure have relatives up here, and there was some prearranged plan to have, where they'd come up to meet, and the relatives maybe would take them in temporarily and probably help them find some kind of employment. But when you actually go beyond that situation and look at for the others, and many of these people are coming from countries that don't really have as many immigrants here from as the traditional Central American countries or Mexico. A lot of these people are coming from just all over the world, and so they may face other problems. So, at any rate, that's kind of what I'm thinking, that at some point this thing will actually rebound to actually cause some significant problems with administration. I think already there's a rift in the Latino community, because effectively a lot of those people, in terms of the illegal immigrants, go into their communities and cause them trouble, and probably are trying to take their jobs and suppress their wages. And I think that's one reason why there's kind of a backlash going on in those areas. It's not that they don't want a certain amount of people coming in, and I'm certain that some individuals probably want some of their relatives to be able to come in, but the idea that it's just completely uncontrolled to this magnitude is a whole different issue, I think. And so the calculation that the Democrat Party made that this would be very popular in these areas and would help them get votes may not be the case, because the new immigrants aren't going to be voting in the near term, and the people that have citizenship here of the same ethnicities probably are not too keen on having them crowd into their neighborhoods like this. So anyway, so that's kind of what I think about that. But I do think that Biden is clearly committing an impeachable offense by what he's doing. The problem is that for the present time, the Democrats control the House, so he won't be impeached. And even if the Republicans get control of the House, and even if they get control of the Senate, there's no likelihood they're going to have 67 votes to impeach him, at least so far. Although there are Democrats that are, drifting away from Biden, but I don't think they're necessarily, at this point, willing to impeach him. So we're kind of stuck with a guy, I guess, for the whole 4-year term, unless he were to decide to resign. And I don't really see that happening at this point either, because I think increasingly the evidence is, as I've thought for some time, that his wife is probably behind a lot of his activities. There have been stories about him basically giving him some kind of medication to kind of stimulate him in the morning and so forth before he goes out to speak. So this seems like he's become an avatar for the symbolize the left wing of the Democrat Party, and this isn't the old Joe of yesteryear at any rate. So anyway, on another issue, I would want to kind of make a comment on the ongoing, congressional race. I've been hearing some discussion of that, and looking at the latest polling right now, the real clear average of for the generic ballot is Republicans up 2.5%. Now, if you go into the details behind it, it's a little bit interesting what you'll find. There's two different groups of polls. There are those that are registered voter polls, which means they basically just ask the person, are you registered to vote, as a screening question. And then there's likely voter polls, where they ask additional questions trying to ascertain the likelihood that they'll vote. Now, that probably varies to some degree from poll to poll, how they actually do that. I mean, they could ask a question like, did you vote in the last congressional election? Or just simply, do you plan to vote in the upcoming midterm? Or there might be some other criteria they might use. But so that's why there's a little questionability there. But usually they have pretty good techniques for filtering this out. And we all know one thing is true, that all registered voters don't vote. So anyway, so there's where the breakdown comes. If you look at just the registered voter polls, it's the Democrats ahead by 0.3%. Okay, basically break even. And but if you look at just the likely voter polls, it's Republicans ahead by 6.7%. Okay, on average. So that kind of gives you an idea, sort of what kind of where we are in the race at the moment. And this is well over a month after the the overturn of Roe v. Wade. So it doesn't look like that has created quite the boon that the Democrats hoped it would in terms of people of a backlash. And so I thought just something to note. We'll have to see what develops as time goes forward. The other thing that's developing is that the Democrats are now running an ad, which they're basically claiming, among other things, that the Republicans plan to end Social Security and Medicare, which is a complete lie, of course. There's no chance that's going to happen. And as long as you don't collapse the entire economy, that's probably the last thing that's going to be significantly reduced. So that's a complete lie. They're also claiming that the Republicans get in, they're going to ban abortion nationwide I presume at the federal level. That's what we're talking about, right? Because there's going to be Democrat-controlled states like California, for instance, and even if the Republican were to get the governorship of New York, the legislature is not going to be doing anything like that. But at the national level, remember, there's a filibuster. So the Democrats are very unlikely to fall below 41 votes. And in fact, not only that, there are a few pro-choice Republicans, such as Collins, for example. So that's that's not a real threat. Plus, the Supreme Court decision seems to give the issue over to the states, not the federal government. So we don't know whether or not such a law going either way on that subject at the national level would be constitutional. But that's another thing that's being thrown out, and just watch out for the Democrat lie. They always like to talk about big lies. Well, there is a Democrat big lie for you. And so, at any rate, I'll be wrapping this up now. I want to mention, though, I sometimes forget to mention this, that I do post these videos also on Rumble. So you might want to subscribe to my Rumble font, which is the same thing, Corrality452, over there on Rumble. And just in case I get in trouble on YouTube, I did get one of my videos taken down, the one that had to do with 2,000 what would we call them? Mixtures of a horse and donkey. So I'm going to say the thing right. That one I got taken down on there. They said it was misinformation. So, at any rate, so I have to be a little bit careful there. And I have a few views over on Rumble, so that's something else to mention. And of course, the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. I do post quite frequently on Twitter, less frequently on some of the others, but I do post there too from time to time. So I'll wrap this up for now, and until next time.